new assembly that was
Members, before
put
the
into
sitting was
being by
suspended,
Act Number.
the leader of Assembly Business was contributing. He has so far utilized 20 minutes of his entitled 30 minutes. As the Deputy Presiding Officer, I'm responsible for the efficient management of this House, and therefore the leader of Assembly Business, according to the standing order, is also entitled to his additional 10 minutes. So rather than allowing the member to continue for 10 minutes and then interrupting him, I'm going to ask one of the members to move the relevant motion so that the member could continue for 20 minutes uninterrupted.
Speaking of the honorable member, be extended by a further 10 minutes.
The question is that the speaking time of the member be extended by a further 10 minutes. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any against? Member, you may continue for 20 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Presiding Officer. At the time when we took the break, I was just speaking about the unemployment relief program and how we rebranded it and how we were able to allow persons to realize that there are opportunities. And although we have moved to a place where we are generating revenue from the URP program, we are trying to empower the persons, and none more specifically, Mr. Deputy Presiding Officer, than the women in the women's program. And quite recently, I would have hosted a series of breakfast meetings with the women in the women's program. And we had a very open and frank discussion. And the discussion really hinged on a couple of things. One, it was their sacrifice in ensuring that the URP program on a whole was one that could realize certain successes. And that we wanted to empower women. We wanted to empower women in the URP program in particular. And we wanted to empower them so that they can be the driving force in their own households, their own communities. And we have done so already by exposing them to training in things like the cocoa spar products, Mr. Deputy Presiding Officer, where we had them learn to, out of cocoa, they would have created body scrubs, body butters, and so on, so that they can now go out and make this into a sustainable business and move on. And just like with the furniture workshop, we are saying to these women that this can be your business. Use URP as a platform, as a launching pad. And I'm really happy to hear about my colleague in the member for the Secretary for Food Production, because one of the things the women would have said, you know, we have so much fruit that is falling on the wayside. We would like to get into processing, particularly mango and pomsite and so on. So we are looking for those partnerships. As a matter of fact, Mr. Deputy Presiding Officer, I'm pleased to announce that we are actually going to engage an entrepreneurship coach for the women in the URP Women's Program, so that when we give them the training in the different areas, whether it's in agro-processing or so on, they now have an entrepreneurship coach who can take them from, yes, I received training, but how do I now develop a business out of this? And whether it's a sole trader business, a partnership, or a cooperative, this coach, this mentor, will ensure that they're able to really become the creative forces in their own lives. And again, we will then partner with the Division of Community Development, Enterprise Development, and Labor, because as the member for Bethel Mountain even would have spoken to earlier, we had a roadshow in Trin City Mall, and I remember going to that roadshow. It was a 2-day roadshow, and persons were frantically calling after the first day because they had run out of products. They did not realize, Mr. Deputy Presiding Officer, that Trinidadians would be so crazy, would be so in tune, and would demand so highly products out of Tobago. So they went and they were conservative, and of course, sometimes it happens. They were a bit tentative, But they quickly realized that the demand for Tobago products, Mr. Deputy Presiding Officer, was high. So what we are doing at URP, we are going to empower the persons, the young persons, the women in particular, so that they can now generate revenue and become business owners, start hiring people of their own, so that we are moving persons away from depending on the welfare. And that is how we talk about investing. We are investing in the women in the URP program, and the return on that investment we expect is not directly in the coffers of the THA. We're not expecting them to pay us anything. We are expecting that they would create businesses, and eventually they'll pay corporate taxes or VAT or whatever have you, and that is the revenue that we're talking about. Generating and facilitating business, and that is the true role of government. And I'm saying it again, Mr. Deputy Presiding Officer, who is the PDP to say that we are wrong to encourage people to dream? Is it wrong for the URP women to dream that they can own their own businesses, that they can export to Trinidad, and they can do like some others when they went to Cuba and export to Latin America? They can dream that dream, and because they don't have the money now, doesn't mean that they can't do it. We are here to help. And those are the things we are doing, Mr. Deputy Presiding Officer, to ensure that moving forward we empower employees. Under the Division of Education, Innovation and Energy, there's a construction certification program. And again, persons from URP were able to access this program, where we recognize, and the Chief Secretary in particular recognized, we have a number of tradesmen who say they're tradesmen, but they are not certified. And we would have partnered with the NEC, and now they can get level 1 and level 2 certification. As a matter of fact, there was even a woman from the women's program who would have done electrical installation and was duly certified. And today she came to me when I met with some of them and said, Mr. Devines, I've decided, because we had offered her a position in the electrical section, and she had turned it down initially. And she said, you know, Mr. Devines, after receiving the training, who am I to say no to this opportunity? And, you know, my paws are raising now because I felt really good that this woman would have seen an opportunity, seized the opportunity, and is about to reap the benefit of that opportunity. And that is what we are doing here. We are encouraging people to dream. We are encouraging people to go after their dreams, and we are making their dreams a reality. Mr. Deputy Presiding Officer, you know what else we are making a reality? We are redeveloping the east of Tobago. The Division of Infrastructure, Quarries and the Environment, I remember when we opened the Roxborough Administrative Complex, I made the point that from Crown Point to Charlottesville, we are seeing quality work for the people of Tobago. When you drive up the freshly rehabilitated highway, the Claude Noel Highway, quality works for you. That cost us $35 million plus VAT. That was the contract sum. There were all types of armchair experts talking about the quality and the this and the that. Now, all I can hear, silence. Because the critics are not big enough to say, you know what, a job well done. This is quality works delivered to the people of Tobago. And that is the type of work that we are committed to doing. And not because I say so, but because the division has bought in to the new mantra of delivering quality works, and from the administrator all the way down to everyone in the division recognizes their role. And we are encouraging people to buy into that role. When we go up to the study park quarry and we heard the Secretary for Finance speak about it, we are now poised to export not only to Trinidad but to Guyana. And that's because we would have rehabilitated the Barbados Bay Jetty. Quality works for you. It was such a proud moment seeing Mosquito Creek. Now people could drive without seawater splashing up on their cars or coastal flooding affecting them because of the andesite rocks, the armored rocks from Tobago. Quality works for you. When we drive along many of the newly repaired surfaces, whether it's in Richmond or Delaford, I'm sure the assemblyman for the area is quite pleased to see the road works. Quality works for you. And we have invested as an assembly almost $200 million in Roxborough alone, be it the Roxborough Administrative Complex, the hanging down coastal revetment, the rehabilitation of the Sid Gray sporting facility, the Roxborough Hospital, the Roxborough Fire Station, the Roxborough Police Station. And although we are not responsible for all of those jobs, I dare say quality works for you. Because this assembly has committed itself to doing business as unusual. We cannot, as the member did rightly say, we cannot do things the same way and expect different results. So yes, we are doing things differently. Yes, we are ensuring that studies are done, so when we make decisions, the decisions are based on sound engineering principles. They are technically sound and financially prudent. So one of the things that we are tackling in the upcoming fiscal year is going to be Turpin Bend. For years, people have quarreled about Turpin Bend. And yes, they say, Secretary, all you had to do is put on a big retaining wall there and do that and just do this. And I said to myself, a wise man once said, if it really was just, if the solution was a just solution, it would have been done a long time ago. So we would have done the necessary studies. We would have engaged UDCOT. There are designs. There's one more design that was recently submitted. So we now have 4 options for Turpin Bend. And we'll be going to the stakeholders in the area and say, listen, these are the options. These are the most feasible. This is the cost. This is where we're going. So don't worry, Assemblyman Augustine, to the member for palliative care. The designs are coming. I'm sure you'll have your opportunity to have your say. Not that you're an engineer, but because we believe that all stakeholders should have a say. And that's how we are delivering quality works to the people of Tobago. We are committed to that. And we're taking that message all across. The Thompson River Bridge currently is being constructed, and we are looking at all of the projects so far under the division. We are getting better and better at managing our projects because we recognize that, again, times hard, things hard. We have to be sensible. We have to be very frugal. And again, serious governance time, serious people. And the serious people in the division of the infrastructure, quarries, and the environment are ensuring that there's cost savings. There were cost savings on the Hanging Down Rock Revetment Project in Roxborough, savings on the Roxborough Administrative Complex, savings on the Lambo River Bridge, and there are going to be savings on the Thompson River Bridge because currently they are on schedule to complete that project in March of 2020, when in fact it was scheduled to be completed on May of 2020, well ahead of schedule. Why? Because we are working very closely with the project managers, NITCO. We are saying, NITCO, you have to hold the consultants to account. You have to hold the contractor to account because this is what we want to deliver to the people of Tobago. Quality works. And we guarantee you each and every time that we engage any project that it's going to be based on technically sound principles, and it's going to be financially prudent at all times. Have just completed, we're just wrapping up the Scarborough bypass study. Again, NITCO would have facilitated that. We are looking at ways that we can ease congestion in the Scarborough area. The results are coming in, and very soon we will be going out to the people of Tobago to say these are the options that we have, and we could look at it, and we could see how we can fund these projects. And again, it's because we are looking years down the road. We are taking everything into consideration. We are dreaming of a better Tobago. And who are you in the PDP to say that we cannot dream of a better Tobago? I dare say that we can dream and we can realize a better Tobago because we are doing things in a way that we recognize it is a serious time. It requires serious people. Governance is for serious people. I just want to move quickly to our coastal program even further. We're doing, for the first time, there's a coastal zone management unit under the Division of Infrastructure, and it was because that the Chief Secretary would have insisted that we protect our coastlines in light of what's happening with the change in the sea levels because of the climate change. We are doing what we can to protect our coastlines. As a matter of fact, today and yesterday, we had a very experienced coastal engineer. CAF would have facilitated that coastal engineer coming to Tobago to look at several projects, including the Grange Bay seawall, the Palativier jetty, the Little Tobago jetty, Plymouth jetty, Pigeon Point, and other projects around Tobago on the coastline. So as a matter of fact, we are bringing in international expertise to ensure that we get the job done. And not because we're saying that we have the money now or anything like that, but because we realize that we have to get things in order, because we are putting things in place so that we can make the right decisions all the time. Because When it is you have less money to spend, and I'm sure for those among you, the persons listening who have managed a household, when it is you have money, you have limited funds to spend, you can't go buying KFC or fast food. You have to take your time, buy good provision, or even grow your provision, as the case might be, or get your good food and cook good food. And that's what we're doing. We're doing good for the people of Tobago. Quality works for the people of Tobago. And that's where we are. One of the things, Deputy Presiding Officer, that I want to get to before my time is expired, is people love to talk about election paving and election paving. So when we started the work on the highway, or elections coming just now, I don't know what elections coming just now. We have, again, because we are looking future, we looked at a 4-year plan in terms of rehabilitating roads around Tobago. As a matter of fact, so far, in the last fiscal year, we completed paving on 14 different roads around Tobago, and I just want to name a few of them. Cart Road in Mount St. George, Windward Road in Richmond phases 1 and 2, Windward Road, Delaforte Speyside, of course, Windward Road, Argyle, the Adelphi Tributary Road, Goldfinch and Susulands, Pleasant Prospect Trace, Friendsfield Branch Trace 1 and 2, sections of the Bethel Main Road, Rojas Trace, Tank Road, French Fort Trace, Hoogley Bush Trace, Lady Smith Trace, and there are 13 other roads scheduled to be done. And this is in the context, and I really want to make this point very forcefully, where the Assembly was allocated $4 million in this particular fiscal for the road resurfacing program, and $7 million in the last fiscal year. So what are you saying to the people of Tobago? Is it that we should just throw our hands up in the air and say we're only doing those roads? No, we have reprioritized, realigned ourselves, we have kept people employed, and we are ensuring that we're getting the work of Tobagonians done. I just want to move quickly, Mr. Presiding Officer, to the environment, because next Wednesday we'll be signing a declaration that is an outcome from our inaugural Environmental Partnership Conference held in June of this year, where we brought on partners from civil society and the private sector, Shell, Environment Tobago, Eric, and so on. And the German embassy came on as well. The German ambassador, the brand new German ambassador, will be here next Wednesday for the signing of the declaration, because we are taking definitive steps to preserve and protect our environment. As a matter of fact, just last week, we would have officially submitted the application for the UNESCO Man-Made Biosphere program, and we are looking to have Northeast Tobago recognized by UNESCO in that manner. So we are doing all that we can, and this is on top of all of the work that we're doing in air quality management, wetlands rehabilitation, water quality testing, and the list can go on. And of course, we are now moving towards a pilot program for plastic, aluminum, and glass recycling in Tobago. And I'm sure the Deputy Presiding Officer will be pleased to know that Buku is the test community that we are proposing to use, and we're going to be doing curbside pickups, and that is something that we're going to have some consultations in the community of Buku to deal with, and that we're going to have in Tobago for the first time an operation where we are shredding, baling, and then exporting plastic. Mr. Deputy Presiding Officer, as I wrap up, I really want to say that we had a mandate in the division. The first mandate, a couple of mandates. The first mandate was to keep people employed, and we did so successfully. Over 6,000 people are employed by the Division of Infrastructure, Quarries, and the Environment. Not a single one was sent home. Not a single one. As a matter of fact, I dare the members opposite in the PDP to say similar about the PSA office, where the judge had to order that people be re-employed. I am managing 6,000 employees, and in the PSA office you have about 20, and they send home 16 because they wear a different jersey. That's not how we operate in the PNM at all, or in this administration. But again, I would say to the member for Paltevere, when you lie with dog, you're bound to get fleas, because I'm sure some people will say, well, Watos was a good boy, or Duke was a good boy. We don't, you know, all those stories when you always hear mother say, well, he was a good boy. when the time comes and the bell tolls, will we also be saying, well, Farley was a good boy, but he made some bad decisions and he followed bad company? And clearly, that is the case. The reality is, business as unusual in the division. We are doing things differently. We are focusing more on project management. We are realizing cost savings. There's a greater focus on the environment, coastline management. And lastly, we have decided that we are committed to delivering quality works to the people of Tobago. Mr. Deputy Presiding Officer, before I close, it would be remiss of me if I do not say a special thank you to each and every employee of what I consider to be the best division in the Tobago House of Assembly, the Division of Infrastructure, Quarries and the Environment. I'm very much thankful to each person and the contribution that they make and continue to make as we drive the island of Tobago forward. Mr. Deputy Presiding Officer, I thank you.
Secretary of Settlements and Urban Renewal.
Thank you, Deputy Presiding Officer, and don't forget public utilities. Let me say good afternoon to everyone in this honorable house, to those in the gallery. Thank you for taking your time off from your busy schedule to come and support this debate. But before I start, I sat there and I was thinking about the Honorable Member for Speyside, Charlottesville, Palatavere. And for the past 15 years, 16 years, you were schooled by the PNM, received education by the PNM, you travel on behalf of the PNM. And that I'm speaking about the administration that was in power. And if you did all of those things, basically, you have to make a decision. And the decision is to try to cross the floor. After getting all those nurturing, you want to turn your back on us. But a word to the wise is sufficient. The only thing necessary for triumph of evil is for good men to do nothing. Mr. Deputy Presiding Officer, these are the words of the great philosopher Edmund Burke. Most of us seemingly assume that policies, standards, and even development happen based on dreams and aspirations. But in the case of Tobago and the Tobago House of Assembly, we are committed to leading by example and strategy. Our objectives are clear and precise. In addition, we are aware of the fact that we are required to keep abreast of global standards as it relates to long-term planning and sustainable development goals. We must continue to find innovative ways of ensuring that our sustainable growth and development objectives are not just in keeping with the needs of each division, but Tobago as a whole and part of the framework of Trinidad and Tobago and Tobago's quest to become part of a competitive global economic community. We must not mistake economic growth with economic development. While both factors can be described as long-term effect of planning, sustainable development, and proper preparation on the level of governance, there are fundamental differences which cannot be ignored. Economic growth of ongoing improvement pertains to facilities, infrastructure, investment, commerce, and general trade, both locally and internationally. However, economic development speaks of the actual experience of expansion and the capacity building or resilience, as well as the creation of future opportunities. Contribution to economic development. At the Division of Settlements, Urban Renewal, and Public Utilities, we are advancing Tobago's socio-economic development. Our plan for fiscal 2020 are innovative, forward-thinking, and sustainable, direct and indirectly. Our housing and grant programs are not only our housing and grant programs not only to provide shelters and improve the quality of housing stock on the island, but each construction project creates employment opportunities in the areas of home construction, housing repairs, and maintenance or landscaping. Our urban renewal projects are also creating long-term employment as commercial opportunities are made available at concessions booths, upgrade works at the boardwalk in Scarborough. Areas for public convenience are also enhanced. The public utilities arm of the division continuously drives essential service for Tobago. We at the division and the assembly are proud to fund the street lighting and rural electrification, which provides safety and security for all who live, work, or travel throughout Tobago. The division also continues to collaborate with public agencies to support of their efforts. We have some projections for fiscal 2020, and I want to go straight into those because we have to give account for the monies that we were allocated. And I want to start with the Courland project. About a year and a half ago, I always came to this house and promised a date for delivery. But I'm proud to say today that in the month of December, as a Christmas gift, we will be distributing those lands in portions. We will distribute them in phases. We have 4 phases, and we intend to distribute the first phase on the 19th of December. So when you have persons on another side saying we are not doing anything to develop Tobago, it really hurts my heart. We also have the Bell Garden development, housing development. And you know, in the realms of things with regards to housing, the division is quite quiet. But I know when we intend to develop our lands, the division will get noisy. The earth will be rumbling, the earth will be shaking. Because you might develop roads, you will develop sporting athletes, you will develop healthcare. But the GDP with regards to housing is great because in housing you have construction. After you construct, you have to buy curtains, you have to buy bathroom mat, then you have to put up cupboards. Then they want to change the curtain for Easter, for Christmas, for birthday, for Mother's Day, for Father's Day. So there's always a generation of spending money in Tobago. So I want to assure to the members on the other side, we are in the business of developing Tobago. And when you all want to make frivolous statements like the administration is not doing anything, please, maybe 2040 or 2050, if you all happen to get an opportunity to be in power, you'll understand that when you're making criticism, make sure when you're making negative criticism, also include the positives. We also want to engage the connection of the Signal Hill project. The Signal Hill area, or administrator on the far end, I know you all are suffering from some stench, but we procure the services. UDCOT are the managers who would undertake the project, and contractors were selected and soon to begin works. I'm proud to say today that the Adelphi lands for development of housing, I want to say it was confirmed by the Executive Council, and we wish to break ground also on the 19th of December. So on the 19th of December, there are a lot of things will be happening on that day. So my colleagues, you all have to make sure that your clothes are ironed from now. your hair well groomed, because we have a lot of action. And this is what we have to do. Actions speak louder than words. We have to take our time. You know, people say in housing, you ain't do nothing for the last 2.5 years. But they're leaving the best for last. So we, in the Adelphi area, we will be developing 150 houses. And we are creating a new community. So to Mr. Assemblyman Sheldon Cunningham, you'll have some neighbors around you. I'm increasing the electoral district. All right, so your votes will also increase. I also want to say to also in the Riceland area, we intend to develop 50 housing plots. We're trying to force it as well for the 19th of December. Because I want to make sure that going over into the new year, I want to go over into the new year with a drive. A drive to make sure that these housing programs are not just utterances in the house, but they must become a reality by the end of 2020. Charity begins at home. And we are doing some development works at the Milford Court Plaza. We painted the area. We intend to resurface the area. We removed the leaking awnings and we would replace them. I think I got some information that there will be a replacement today. There were persons measuring. And I am saying to all of us, as assemblymen, charity begins at home. Fix your area. Follow me. Fix your area. And also fix all of Tobago, because each of us have an area. So when Mr. Augustine, Assemblyman Augustine, we would fix your area for you. We fix the Turpin Bend for you. And it's so fortunate today that you are by yourself. And it's a signal we are sending to you. When you are by yourself today, when you look around, you don't have no support. But the only support you have is this administration. So we will support you with roads. We will support you even with the housing grants. And I want to go straight into my housing grants. The majority of my housing grants were allotted to the east. Roxborough, Charlottesville, Goodwood, Mount St. George, Bacalet. And the reason why we try to focus on that end, we know you all suffer from sea blast. So even, not because I'm from the West, I want to be fair to all of Tobago. I'm not just working in my area. As Councillor Devine said, quality works for you. So whilst we work for you, you can make a fair decision that in your tenure, we made your area look beautiful. I want to say today, we gave $11 million in grants. $11 million in grants. And whilst we give these grants, we want to make sure that persons use those grants to improve their living standards. I know in the area of Plymouth receive a lot of grants. I know Goodwood received some grants, not to mention Moriah and Mason Hall received some grants. And a while ago, I just went to the office to collect the information. And I saw some files on my desk. And all I am seeing is Roxborough, 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 Roxborough. We have to work for those persons who are not working in their electoral district. The representative for Roxborough, we have to assist him. Because he's not giving nothing to Roxborough. Only old talk. You're jumping off jetty and swimming. People don't want that. People want a touch, an intimate touch. They want help. They want assistance. And that is what this administration is all about. In fiscal 2019-2020, we want to develop or construct some new bus shelters. And I want to start close to the health offices. I know some health offices where the senior citizens, they come early, and sometimes the gates are locked for security reasons. So we want to put some bus shelters. So when the buses bring, or there's a route in that area, these senior citizens would have an area to shelter. In the event like today, rain in Bonaccord when I came to Scarborough Drive. But if we don't provide for our senior citizens, they would complain. So whilst persons are looking for things to say, we are thinking and we are working. So look out. And I'm not just bringing the regular bus shelters for you. I intend to put 6 modernized shelters with solar panels. So I want to start in the Crown Point area. I want to put one up in the east, one up in the north, and we are looking to put one in the Plymouth area. These bus shelters with the solar panels will have areas where persons who traverse the island may be touring, and maybe your phone might run out of charge. You need to make an important call. You will be able to plug in your phone. So in this administration, we don't want to just think normal. We are thinking out of the box. So brace yourself, Mr. Augustine. I know in your area there was one of those bus shelters due to the sea blast. It was destroyed, and I removed it. But I would replace it before the first quarter. So brace yourself. I am working for you. We are working for you. This administration is working for you. So after working for you, you have no other option but to give in and come over. So in the division, ladies and gentlemen, we have a lot of great plans and great ideas for this year. Our division is one of the divisions, or the smallest division in the assembly. We also receive the smallest budget. But despite we are small, we want to be effective. And I know we want to improve the living condition, improve the living standards of all of Tobago. And I, as Secretary of Settlements, Urban Renewal and Public Utilities, I will make sure that my tenure in housing will not just be a walk in the park. I would make sure I leave my imprint and assist persons who I need, increase the housing stock and also the land stock. So for 2020, in the division of housing would be an exciting year for us. So for those who, I want to put it out there publicly, I am not satisfied with the amount of persons who come to apply for the assistance program, the grant assistance program. I would like to see more persons come to our division and apply. The money is not to stay in the division as a show. So when we get these monies, for example, when we get these monies, we want to make sure that the grants could complement the amount of monies. I know Mr. Jack, in his wisdom, would give us when we ask, because people's lives are very important. We are not using these as a political tool, but we are using it to help Tobagonians with their living condition. Because you could pave a road and my house leaking. It is affecting me. My road, my house is not leaking, and my road and paver could pass. But I want to put bucket in my house. So persons apply through the grant program, and I know in fiscal 2020, Mr. Jack, Honorable Representative for Bacalet Mount St. George, make sure your people in the area, when you give me these monies for the grants, make sure your persons in your area apply for these grants. Mr. Pitt, Assemblyman for Lambo, I'm not seeing much of Lambo. Encourage those persons to come out and apply. So, again, I want to say, as Assemblyman, I love you all. I love Tobago. I love my job. And I'm not doing my job for fame. I am doing it out of a caring heart. So to those on the other side who need help, you can also apply. So on behalf of the Division of Settlements, I want to say all love to you all and congratulations to all of us who work diligently in improving the lives of Tobago, and I thank you.
Assistant Secretary in the Office of the Chief Secretary.
Thank you very much, Mr. Deputy Presiding Officer. And bear with me because I'm still recovering from the presentation of my good colleague, Assemblyman for Canaan Bonaccord. Now, Mr. Deputy Presiding Officer, let me take this opportunity to join my other colleagues in wishing you the very best in your new position. And from where I stand now, you look good. And I know you will perform well in your newfound position. Let me take this opportunity to express my gratitude once again for the opportunity to contribute to another discussion around this horseshoe. I am, of course, happy to contribute, and I am here, of course, because of the confidence of the residents of Plymouth, Lake Otu, and Golden Lane. And I, at this time, would like to thank them for their support thus far, and to say to them that as we look forward to 2020 and beyond, may our relationships in the district of Plymouth Golden Lane continue to develop. Let us work collectively to better each community. I am here, as my colleague said, I am here to provide that intimate touch to the people in my electoral district. I also echo the sentiments of my boss and Chief Secretary when he, in his presentation, thanked the employees of our division, and I want to say thank you to my administrator who is here with us today, all our supervisors in the Division of Education, 1, 2, and 3, all our unit heads, all other staff members, our principals and vice principals in all our schools, all our teachers, the managers of our various schools, all educators, ancillary staff, and everyone who provides and supports the education system on this island. No matter, Mr. Presiding Officer, our educators continue to serve and work in the interests of our children. It was only on Tuesday that I joined the administrators of the 12 Anglican schools on the island. The principals, vice principals, and senior teachers all converged to discuss and develop strategies that can improve the delivery to the teachers under their care and also to the children. These administrators, by their action, Mr. Presiding Officer, demonstrated the true meaning of Proverbs 27, verse 17, which reads, "Iron sharpeneth iron, so a man sharpeneth the countenance of his friend." As friends and colleagues, they gathered to help each other. I, at this time, congratulate them on their effort, and I wish them great success as they implement the strategies in their respective schools. Mr. Presiding Officer, in June of this year, when we had our first budget presentation, our first debate, I spoke extensively on the various achievements and prospective plans of the Division of Education, Innovation, and Energy. But I will just recap, and I knew my boss did that earlier, but I will just recap briefly. And of course, he mentioned of our 2-year success program with the school repair program. And of course, you know, in 2019, we experienced similar success. And of course, he spoke to the commissioning of Madden House, our teachers. It's a professional development center for our teachers, and they can go there. I spoke last time of the opening of the NESC Center at Goldsboro. I spoke extensively on training sessions that were afforded to principals, teachers, senior citizens, and other children and the children on the island of Tobago. And I spoke also of the introduction of the construction certificate training program, which I would refer to later on in my presentation. And of course, significant to us was the completion and handing over of the Scarborough RC School. And the records are there to prove that over the last 2 years, this administration, in very trying economic times and economic circumstances, delivered well to the people of Tobago. Mr. Presiding Officer, at the Division of Education, we continue to be proud of our staff, and we are very proud of the unit, our Sport in Education unit, and they continue to direct and manage programs with great success. And these programs include, but not limited to, the school football program, cricket and netball leagues. Many titles have come to Tobago, and we are here to celebrate our coaches, our schools, and our teachers for the successes and the wins that they brought to the island of Tobago. Now, my boss, the Chief Secretary, mentioned earlier that Blackrock government are the national netball champions. Scarborough RC, and I was there at the airport to welcome them home, and they brought home the trophy for the 3rd time. Significant. And it says that that trophy remains in Tobago. These young girls are full of skill, and they play exceptionally well, and we ought to be proud of them. And of course, Signal Hill Secondary School, they are the national Big 5 champions. And he mentioned Bishop's High School. They won in netball champions under 13, under 15, and under 17. And Scarborough Secondary were the national netball champion for over 17 years. Now, Mr. Presiding Officer, through these activities, vital skills and values are learned by our young people, such as communication skills, teamwork, confidence. Their confidence is built. They learn how to practice healthy lifestyle and to engage in physical activity and to keep fit. And because of these activities, these are skills and values that the young people learn when they are young, and they are transcended into their adult life. So we are happy for the work that is being done under our Sports in Education unit. I want to say congratulations to all of them, and we wish them success in their future endeavors. Now, the Division of Education, Innovation and Energy, under the leadership of my boss, the Chief Secretary, and Secretary of the Division of Education, Innovation and Energy, has the responsibilities of ensuring that there are programs to facilitate, 1, continued infrastructural and physical development, and continued human capital development. The division, under his stewardship, will work to bring all of these programs and development projects into fruition. And as mentioned before by my colleague, Councillor Kwesi Devines, it is a process. And my boss always says, Rome was not built in a day. Now, give me a moment, Mr. Presiding Officer, to speak a little on our technical vocational education and training program, TVET. Now, I want to share a little story, Mr. Presiding Officer. I was chatting with a gentleman, and he was sharing that when he was very young, he was unsuccessful in the then common entrance examination. And his sister, who was his caregiver at the time, decided to send him to learn welding in a shop in his village. And when he learned the skill from the person, and he pursued that skill further and became certified. And today that gentleman, in 2020, owns his own welding shop. He has employees and makes a good living and provides for his family because of this skill that he learned. Now, Mr. Presiding Officer, Research and experience have shown that acquisition of a skill is a key element to alleviating poverty. Because when you have a skill, you go find work, as they say. Our young men and women need to learn to do something or to do stuff with their hands. The truth is, engaging in TVET programs makes you very, very employable. Something somewhere, Mr. Presiding Officer, is always being constructed, needs to be constructed, or it wants to be fixed. This administration understands this. Hence, the introduction of, as I mentioned before, the Construction Certificate Training Program. And under that program, our young people on this island are exposed to skills such as electrical installation, construction carpentry, plumbing, and masonry. But we are going a little further. But before I go there, let me just say this, that since the introduction of this program, over 60 young persons have graduated at level 1, and 29 are now pursuing level 2 certification in their skill of choice. Now, this administration understands that technical and vocational skills, TVET skills, are key for employment and self-employment opportunities for the people of Tobago. And therefore, we are going a little further than just offering this program. We are saying we have collaborated with stakeholders to introduce to the population of Tobago a range of opportunities that are available because of TVET training. And we are saying, because of this collaboration, the Division of Education, Innovation and Energy will host a TVET Awareness Week from December 5th to December 10th. We are seeking in this week to sensitize our young on the benefits of acquiring and becoming certified in a skill. We look forward to the week of this event and the long-term benefits that it would bring to the people of Tobago, especially our youth. So we are asking all our parents, all our young people, to stay close to the media and listen for the advertisements when they come. Now, Mr. Presiding Officer, this event, as you will know, will happen during the Tobago Day Week of activities. And so, therefore, I am appealing to all my fellow young people here on the island of Tobago, come and see what skills you can invest in to help build our island of Tobago. This PNM administration will always seek to find ways, and we said it very early, to unleash the creative capacities of our young people. We are saying to our young people on this island, the young man living in my community called Plymouth, Lambeau, Bethel, seize and make use of the opportunities that are presented. Quality opportunity and quality education for all of Tobago. Now, earlier in the sitting, my secretary, the Secretary of Education, Innovation Energy, shared on the achievements of many of our young persons in areas like Cape and CSEC and SEA, and the success by these brilliant students. And also he shared about the successes and achievements that we have been receiving at the Division of Education, Innovation and Energy. But some people may say these achievements are minute, insignificant. But I know as a child growing up, my granny used to always say, "Wani wani, always does full basket." And it's going to start with these few achievements, but a lot will follow, because this administration seeks to work in the interests of the people of Tobago. We have a mandate to deliver, and we are going to do so. So, Mr. Presiding Officer, with not much left for me to say, because I really wanted to focus on TVET, I want to say this afternoon that we are very close to Tobago Day, which is going to be celebrated on the 4th of December. And I know the divisions across the island are preparing for Tobago Day, a significant day on this island. And I want to take this chance to wish all of Tobago happy Tobago Day and to remind all of us listening that this island belongs to all of us, and we must always seek to do whatever we can to preserve this unspoiled treasure. Thank you, Mr. Deputy Presiding Officer.
Assistant Secretary, Infrastructure, Quarries and the Environment. Go ahead, Assistant. Go ahead, member for Providence, Mason, or Moriah.
Well, I was just wondering if the clock going to strike twice in the same day, because I recognize what happened early on this morning when we were looking at the schedule. My name wasn't there, so I was wondering if it clock again. So, Madam Deputy Speaker, let me thank you for allowing, Mr. Speaker, let me acknowledge you and really and truly congratulate you for taking the chair, and also my acting clerk of the House, Ms. Louis, also, congratulations to you. You know, sometimes when you get the opportunity to speak in this House, you take full advantage of it. And today is one such day, but I'll not go for long. Because I can speak proudly of my electoral district of Providence, Mason Hall, Moriah, to which I'm still the sitting area representative. And as my colleague, Secretary for Infrastructure, Councillor Kwesi Devines, would have talked about the division and where we are going. But I will focus on the electoral district because earlier I think he has covered the entire division. So I must say to the division, first of all, thanks for the support that you all have continued to give me on a daily basis. Thanks for the continued working relationship that we continue to enjoy. Because we have to understand the importance of the division of infrastructure, quarries, and the environment. It is like the working machinery of the THA. And when you highlight, Councillor Devines highlighted all the areas that we fix and pave and what happened. And also, Councillor Devines have roots in Moriah. And we have left Moriah undone for some while because if people know of King Peter's Bay Road and what is happening at King Peter's Bay Road, and we talk about Janga Hill, what is happening there, and as lately as Charles Lane, that road is washing away in Charles Lane. So there are a number of things that's still to be done in the division. And I know the sub-office in Mason Hall always will call and ask me, what is going on, what are we doing? But you see, because we are a caring administration, that we look after the entire Tobago, because works have their hand in everything in Tobago. In every angle, in every way, each representative could talk about one division that is within every electoral district, and is the division of infrastructure, quarries, and the environment. So we continue to do our work, continue to employ the young people who are working with us, and those hard-working staff at the division. When you check the division and the skills within that division, we don't need to really employ any other skill because we have the skill inside there and we can utilize it. So let me tell you, that I am really proud of the division to which I'm the assistant secretary, and I will continue working as long as God gives me the breath. And as they say, no one can move the stone once it is planted firmly. So I am standing very firmly at the division. And also, I just want people to know that as long as I continue to represent the area of Providence, Mason Hall, Moriah, to which I'm proud of, because when I see the kind of response I'm getting from the people in that electoral district, and even the office staff to which I work with, excellent staff to work with, I am proud of them. I'm really proud. And I just want to go back on Monday, just Monday. My personal assistant and the staff, they said, we want to have a word with you. We want to plan something. And I always tell them, go ahead with the ideas. I will support you. And they came up with this idea, what you call adopt a classroom. And I was really pleased and proud of those persons in my office. We 9 schools in our area, from preschool, primary school, and 1 secondary school. And they went to the business community and other persons, people like Coffee River Nature Retreat, Mongrace Feed Depot. We also have Emerald's Health, and a number of other persons, Bill Brown, Brother B. And they collected in items for those 3 schools in the value of just under $12,000 to give to 3 schools in my area. And I'm proud of the staff. When we went to those schools, which is the Moriah Preschool, Early Childhood and Care, Mongrace Preschool, and the Mason Hall Secondary School, because they have a block that is very hot. And we were able to provide fans, equipment to use inside, and everything to give them in the value of almost $4,000 from the community of Providence, Mason Hall, and Moriah. So I am proud of my electoral district. So I always welcome persons who have the ambition to come and, as Mr. Pitt say, want the seat too. I welcome the persons. Because when you are a representative, it means you are a person who are with the people, for the people, and by the people. And a lot of time, people don't understand that. But they're quick to talk about jumping in race. I have no problem with that. Because it says that you are ambitious and you want to be somewhere. We don't go that far. So I am saying a clear signal to people. Let us be mindful and careful of what we do and how we do it. Because not every fight you would fight in, because God always fight my fight. So I just want to say that clearly. And I just want to let you know that regardless of how we are or what we do, the People's National Movement have a constitution that guides all of us. The People's National Movement have a constitution that we must adhere to. And anytime you step outside of that, you can find yourself in deep waters. But I have abided by it because there's a time and place for everything. So when those times come around, we will deal with them under the Constitution. So I'm asking people, let us be mindful, tread softly. I may sound quiet, I may operate quiet, but I'm not a quiet person to deal with. So let us get together and learn those facts before we get on the wrong side. So let me thank the people of Providence, Mason Hall, Moriah for the confidence they have put into me. I am proud to represent that electoral district. And anybody knows me that when I pass through, I pass with clean hands and I'm entitled to keep it that way. Amen. So anybody who's threatened and want to, I have no problem in it. But let us work together. Because we can only achieve the best out of everything by working together. And when we look at it, simple this horseshoe is, you look at it good, is a shoe and an area where we should be sitting together and make meaningful contribution to build the Tobago society. And we have to understand that when we do these things together, we can only have a win-win situation. Who knows coming next election who we bring over on our side? But it is how we behave and how we tread. And I want people that I'm going to do what I have to, when I have to, and how I have to. But there are certain things and elements that keep propping up.
All right,
I want us to understand.
All right, so I think I've given sufficient leeway.
Yes, sir.
I think you have addressed the politics enough. So I'm not going to ask you to confine your observations to the motion.
Thank you.
what we're debating here today.
So let me just get back to the motion. Thank you, Mr. Deputy Presiding Officer. The motion has said clearly, in terms of the increase, in terms of what we received from last year to this year. And I know the people of King Peter Bay Road, in our last community meeting, talk about the road that was breaking away down in that area. And we have made some suggestions, not promise, that we'll try our best to fix it. And I do hope in this budget, Secretary Jack will take into consideration King Peter's Bay Road, because that road, it is really breaking away badly. And I'm really and truly hurt for the young lady who is blind, who is living on the corner of that road, who is not too sure when she wake up if that road is still going to be there. So I really and truly wanted to take a keen look. I sent some pictures to the secretary and the administrator already, and I hope they take a keen look into it, and we don't end up. Actually, the Councillor Carrington would have housed her for 3 months, and because of the period, she have to go back into the house. And we know the danger of that home, so I really want to take a keen look at it. But as I am on Secretary Carrington, let me also say, we waited long enough for the Moriah Health Center. Long enough for the Moriah Health Center. And if I'm not mistaken, we are almost 65% completed. Because we promised the people we're going to be ready for April. And I must say, we are way in front of that completion date. Way in front. Because I know they cover already, they're looking to paint and everything. So we might say, let me keep the April deadline, but we will be delivering long before that. Let me also quickly thank Secretary Jacob. I remember I had a list of persons who needed some home repairs, and if you record some time back, I had a number of fire in my area. I was wondering if it's what was burning out from the area. And to date, all of them receive assistance from the Division of Settlement and Urban Renewal Public Utility. So I thank you very much. Even Secretary Pitt, even for the change room within Moriah, I want to thank you for that. We are utilizing it, and we're really grateful for it. Access roads in Mason Hall and Moriah, Assemblyman Spencer, I really appreciate that. So I'm saying there are good things and bad things, but lo and behold, we are having great things within our electoral district. Thank you all. And I must say, education, we are doing some work, and we are trying to work alongside with the schools in terms of how we treat with those, because if you record, Devines Road and Moriah were not doing so well, but they are now catching up. I've been visiting the school, and we've seen some progress, so I know the education division is working within those areas. I really appreciate it. Community development also have been doing their part. They have just distributed some hampers to some of the needy persons in our community, and also those persons who may want little help here and there, and even those classes. So I extend condolence on behalf of the people of Providence, Mason Hall. Thank you from the people of Providence, Mason Hall, Moriah. So lo and behold, I am indeed happy I'm working with a team. And as we always say, when things are bad, we'll deal with them inside. So I really must thank all my colleagues for the continued work that we continue to do too. So Secretary Jack, I want to stand in support your motion, and do hope that whatever we do here now will bear fruits later. I thank you very much.
Secretary of Finance and the Economy.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Presiding Officer. Let me thank you once again for the opportunity to close off the motion. And I am trying not to follow my usual, style of requesting additional time. I think after Secretary Pitt would have said, let me see if I could wind up within my stipulated time. But I want to first
Just,
of all,
just to make it clear, according to the standing orders, you have a total of 40 minutes
40.
to wind up. Yeah.
well, thank you for the information. Thank you for the information, Mr. Deputy Presiding Officer. But first of all, let me start off by commending and congratulating my colleagues on this side, the Chief Secretary and the rest of the team, for their contribution to this important motion. And as I said earlier on this morning, this is part of a budgetary process. This is part of an initiative introduced in 2013 as we sought to deepen the democratic process and also to report to the people of Tobago in greater detail following our June presentation. And I want to congratulate the members opposite for all their contributions. Because, Mr. Deputy Presiding Officer, what it shows and what persons who are listening to us, persons in the public gallery and persons following us on social media and on the World Wide Web, what they would appreciate is the level of preparation and the time and effort that was taken by members on this side to prepare in response and to contribute to the motion today. And for that, I want to congratulate them and to thank them wholeheartedly and sincerely. But Mr. Deputy Presiding Officer, sorry for the slip of the tongue, we will get used to it shortly. But, you know, while I'm able to congratulate the members on this side, you know, while I've said before that I manage my expectations and I try not to get disappointed, but true to form, again, we are disappointed by the contributions coming from the minority bench. You know, we take, and it bears repeating, we take the work of the people of Tobago seriously. And this is not child's play, this is not tomfoolery, this is serious business. And when we come to the House, you know, we're here to do serious business. And, you know, we need to take time to prepare, to, you know, to craft something worthy of the office, the high office to which we hold and to which some persons are aspiring. Because, you know, the former Chief Secretary had a statement, as you campaign, so you govern. And then if in the little things you are not faithful, how can you really manage and aspire to a greater office? So when your opposition leader, when the minority leader, just comes and rambles on and bluffs his way through this motion, showing the kind of lack of preparation and the inability to take the people, take the people of Tobago to take their business seriously, we have to be concerned. And following a similar pattern as the person who sat in that chair during the 2009 to 2013 term, he left unceremoniously after he presented. So again, you know, I am concerned, as I believe the rest of the people of Tobago, as they are as well, with what is happening. And I just want to correct a few points of a bit of misinformation that was peddled out there in terms of, if we are limiting recurrent expenditure, who will be impacted, who will be affected, who we sending home. And let me say at the onset that this is not the first time that we're implementing these policy measures as part of our strategy to treat with the shortfall of funding in the Assembly as it relates to budgetary allocation, has been going on for years, and it has not impacted our levels of expenditure under recurrent expenditure, and we have not sent anyone home. So let me be clear, pellucidly clear, that the reduction in recurrent expenditure will not impact the payment of wages, salaries, and gratuities, as well as it will not impact the Assembly's debt management strategy. So I want to make that clear. And as my colleague rightfully, I think it was the Chief Secretary who said, that recurrent expenditure, when you disaggregate it, it's comprised of personal expenditure, goods and services, minor equipment purchases, and also transfers and subsidies. So when we say recurrent expenditure, it's not just we limiting salaries or we sending home persons. No, that is not the case. The next thing I want to correct is that when the budget is, the next misconception or misleading statement from the minority leader is that he held up a book and saying that this is the draft estimates of expenditure of the Tobago House of Assembly. Now, when the budget is read, what we have disseminated to all members of this House, including the minority side, we get three sets of books. We call them commonly the Yellow Book, but they outline in detail the allocation to all ministries, all government departments, and the Tobago House of Assembly. So again, the minority leader was unprepared, held up the draft estimates, and he was attempting to criticize the presentation. But more importantly, he made a suggestion, and also echoed by Assemblyman Augustine, that we should come and retable a new budget. They see what we are doing is following the law. The law states, the House of Assembly Act, that we need to come and table draft estimates of revenue and expenditure, debate them, and transmit them to the cabinet. What we instituted in 2013 was to return to the House and report to the people how we will deal with the shortfall. Because the shortfall for us has been primarily on the development program side. And as I spoke about earlier, when you receive $231.6 million and you requested $1.45 billion and you get only 16% of what you asked for. And if we're serious about developing the island, what we need is funding outside of recurrent expenditure. We need funding for public sector investment programs if we're serious about economic growth and facilitating economic expansion. So the minority leader came unprepared as usual and was quoting from the wrong book. So I think I will need to print extra copies of the, pardon? No, but I have to print copies of the national budget for both recurrent, for DP, and disseminate to members on the minority bench. And I know my diligent staff, they are tuned in, so I know they're jumping on it already. So we have to ensure that the people of Tobago, that we on this side assist them, because we want them on the same page. We want us having the same sort of debate, although we would love to have the intellectual debate, but what was the initial response? Couldn't pass for that. So we'll be sending, Mr. Augustine, you could inform the minority leader accordingly. So again, he also cherry-picked the revenue part of the estimates, and he asked a question, where the money coming from? You know, when you hear a statement in a place and some persons repeating it so frequently is a cause for concern. Because it rings similar to a statement that was said in the parliament some time ago, that Tobago getting too much money. Look at the revenues they're earning. And when I made the statement, and as my good friend Councillor Kwesi Devine said, and my grandmother would have put it differently, where those who assemble resemble. So when I said in the budget statement that we are appealing to the minority leader to appeal to his UNC friends to support us getting at least 8% of the national budget, the questions that were asked in the parliament about why Tobago needs all that money, why Tobago doing it all that money. So again, I want to appeal to the members on the opposite side. And Councillor Augustine, probably he left to go to Trinidad to go to town to meet his UNC cronies, to tell them why we need the money in Tobago. Because we have a plan, and we gave the people of Tobago a commitment to develop this island, and we would ensure that we do it in spite of the limited resources available to us. But Mr. Deputy Presiding Officer, when you look at the allocation to the Tobago House of Assembly for this year, as a Tobagonian, you should feel excited. You should feel excited because we have developed this space. And when you look at all the macroeconomic data, given the fact that unemployment is below 5%, which, as economists will say, is full employment, when you look at what we have been able to do as it relates to tertiary education, moving the number of persons with degrees from below 10% to over 20% to date, when you look at the infrastructure across the island, when you look at our schools or public facilities, you have a right to be proud, given the fact that we have done so much with limited resources. But the difference this year is that when we started the discussion on pursuing alternative financing mechanisms, some persons thought, well, here they go again. The Secretary with bond financing, I wish you well. With PPP, you ain't see what Annan and them do you with Milshove. Alternative, that ain't happening now in our lifetime. But what we have seen is a signal coming from the central government that they understand the importance of investing in Tobago, and they understand as well the important role that Tobago can play as it relates to national economic diversification and the role of tourism industry can play as a catalyst for economic activity. And they are partnering with us, and we are all sharing the burden and making the corresponding investment in Tobago for national economic development. So that is why, in addition to the $981 million that will be spent by ministries, we also have the significant investment in the A&R Robinson International Airport. And I'm excited. I'm equally excited as well as to, with respect to what is happening at the Magdalena Grand Hotel, where the Apple Leisure Group will come and take over. And I'm happy because we were excited about the prospects for sandals coming to Tobago. And I want Tobagonians to remember what happened when the efforts of the members opposite to cancel and to throw out those plans. And Sandals eventually said, listen, I can't afford for my brand to be tarnished. And they pulled out. But with that initial interest in Tobago, we have Apple Leisure Group coming. We have Sunwing coming. And what I am heartened about is that we will be solving that three-pronged problem that we have of airlift, of marketing, and of additional room stock for the island. And Madam Presiding Officer, Honorable Assemblyman Farley Augustine spoke about the medium-term planning framework and the and the gap in between. But as Dr. Farrell recently indicated at the Business Outlook conference, he said plans do ever die. I mean, although it's dated, but we didn't sit down in the Division of Finance and say we're not doing anything. The recommendation was made. We implemented the Tobago Infrastructure Investment Strategy Group, and we worked in between the duration of the end of the CDP 2.0 and before this one came into being. So we were working all along. So not because there's a gap in between the two dates of the plans mean that we were working in a vacuum. So please, so let me dispel that erroneous statement that you made. We have been working, and I said so in my June budget presentation, and I informed this honorable House. So, and you indicated as well that you got a copy. I don't know how we haven't circulated it to the public as yet. You have a copy, so I welcome your recommendations on the draft, sir, but we will be going out. Well, we'll be going out in full steam to meet with our stakeholders and the public, and we invite their feedback accordingly. And as we have done in the past, because Deputy Presiding Officer, sir, I've had the experience working in the background as a technocrat when we were rolling out CDP 2.0. So we understand the need and the nature to have public dialogue, stakeholder engagement, and to receive the feedback and inputs of all stakeholders, both in Trinidad and Tobago. And let me give the commitment that that process will be similar and will be expanded using all the new and modern technology. Madam, sorry, Mr. Deputy Presiding Officer. Now I want to go back to the bond funding because we ask ourselves, and before I talk about the bond funding, sometimes when persons are leveling criticisms at you, you have to be careful, else they will confuse you. On one hand, we were criticized for submitting a budget of close to $5 billion, but on the other hand, we were criticized for the amount of money that we received. When we did the calculation, we said 8% of the $55 or $50 billion budget was in the vicinity of the ballpark of what we were looking for. And if we were also serious about Tobago's quest for internal self-government and for greater autonomy and the need to accelerate the island's development, anything beyond the traditional should be welcome. And that is why this bond that we will raise for the first time in the history of the Assembly should be celebrated by all of us, because what it means is that we have the flexibility to borrow. It means just like the central government, just like HDC, just like all the state enterprises who are authorized to approach the market to borrow to execute projects on behalf of the government, the Assembly is now in that league. So whereas HDC can go and raise a bond to construct thousands, hundreds of homes, we now, we need to be a House of Assembly, would have that facility. When Unicot and others could raise money to go and build administrative buildings and to construct new buildings, now we need to be a House of Assembly. So when Secretary Jacobs is looking for money for housing, he doesn't have to worry. When Secretary in DIQ is looking for money for his roads and bridges, he don't have to worry because we have the flexibility, and that as well should be celebrated. But additionally, Madam Presiding Officer, what we are also, Mr. Deputy Presiding Officer, sorry, what we also exploring is to use our natural resources, our rainforests, using carbon sequestration and carbon credits. We are also exploring the possibilities of Tobago earning revenue on an annual basis using this mechanism. I had an initial discussion with a professor out of UWI. And when I raised the possibilities, he was uncertain as to what was possible. However, the deputy presiding officer, a few months ago, I traveled to Barbados as part of a Tobago House of Assembly delegation, and we attended a conference, Councillor Devines and myself, on the blue economy. And the professor reminded me of my initial question, and he said that there was a thesis done on the prospects for Tobago using its carbon credit and to earn money on an annual basis. And the conservative estimates that I was given at the time was on an annual basis of 30 million EU dollars. So I am excited about that, and we'll be commissioning a study with UWI to undertake that project and to see what are the possibilities. Because beyond the direct subvention to the deputy presiding officer, we have to look for alternative ways that where we can raise sufficient additional resources to accelerate Tobago's development. And Mr. Deputy Presiding Officer, I want to deal with this revenue issue, and I deal with it in every budget statement, because we are criticized for the revenues earned in Tobago. And as Dr. Vanas James, in one of his papers, looking at the size of Tobago, and one of the questions he said that one of the things we have to deal with in the issue of internal self-government is how do you define Tobago? Because that is why all the oil companies come and meet with us, because they know, according to international definitions, that they are drilling for oil and gas off Tobago's waters. So that's why BHP came. That is why Petro-Canada came when they were here. And that's why all the others meet with us. Because if we use international benchmarks and we expand beyond the 6 nautical miles, then you get a true picture of the resources and the revenues that are due to Tobago. Additionally, it does not include all the taxes and custom duties and fees and levies of companies and companies in Trinidad who have their satellite offices here in Tobago. So again, Mr. Deputy Presiding Officer, we have not taken a hard and fast stance as it relates to Section 49(2) of the Tobago House of Assembly Act, where companies are mandated to pay all their taxes and duties in Tobago. It's not. So again, I just want to take care of that misconception peddled by the minority leader. But Mr. Deputy Presiding Officer, as I wind up, let me again thank everyone for their contribution. And I note the congratulatory note by Mr. Farley Augustin when he said that he's seeing an improvement in the presentation. But the beauty about budget statements and reallocation notes, it's a template. So probably you're interrogating the data a little bit more, and you're having a greater appreciation, and you're realizing what we are doing, why we are doing it, and how. So added to that, you have the medium-term planning framework. I will also send across the allocation to the Assembly, as I promised, and we can work together. You know, I'm magnanimous. I am magnanimous. And I find him coming closer to this side ever so often. You know, he looks like part of the horseshoe on the majority side. But Deputy Presiding Officer, as I wind up, I think today is an important day for Tobago, for the people of Tobago to appreciate the work of this administration over the past 3 years or so. What we have accomplished, the challenges that we have encountered, and the road that we have traveled along the development trajectory. And All I ask is that you continue to support our efforts. You continue to make recommendations. Constructive criticisms are welcome, and you continue to review our work plan and hold us accountable. We welcome scrutiny and transparency. We are open, and Tobago is open for business, and let us continue to develop Tobago together. And I thank you for the opportunity again, Mr. Deputy Presiding Officer, and congratulations on your ascension, and as well, Madam Clerk, congratulations to you as well, and God bless you all richly. I thank you.
Members, the question is, whereas the Tobago House of Assembly, in accordance with Section 41 of the THA Act 40 of 1996, debated, approved, and submitted within the stipulated time its estimates of revenue and expenditure for fiscal 2020 to the Cabinet. And whereas the allocation to the Tobago House of Assembly in fiscal 2020 totaled $2.29 billion, or 4.34% of the national budget, an increase of $54 million, or 2.4% over the previous year. And whereas in accordance with Section 25, Part 2 of the THA Act, the Executive Council is mandated to do all in its power to manage the affairs of Tobago and to advance the island's sustainable development mandate. Be it resolved that this House accept the policy measures and recommendations outlined by the Executive Council to manage the financial resources of the Tobago House of Assembly for fiscal 2020 in order to accelerate the island's developmental momentum. And be it further resolved that this House support the plans of the Executive Council to advance the island's socio-economic development. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any against? The ayes have it, therefore the motion is carried. Leader of Assembly Business.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Presiding Officer. I beg to move that this House now stand adjourned to a date to be fixed.
Members, the question is that this House now stands adjourned to a date to be fixed. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any against? This House is adjourned to a date to be fixed.